issues, education, religion, government, or national security. Brannon brings the issues of the day into clear focus through the lens of a Judeo-Christian worldview. And now, here is your host, Brannon Howse.
And good evening. Welcome to the broadcast on this March 10th, 2026. I'm going to be joined by Matt Tardio tonight and by Patrick Wood. Do you know they got human brain cells now? Human brain cells, they're training to play a video game. Here it is. Human brain cells merge with silica to play Doom. I'm going to show you the video tonight. Where is all this going? And does it have anything to do with some things we're told in the Bible? I'll ask all that to Patrick Wood. But first up tonight is Matt Tardio. Let's talk about why all of a sudden the media wants to talk about Iran maybe having terror cells here. I thought that was untouchable. That was Islamophobic. Crazy talk. Now, all of a sudden, ABC, New York Post, are all talking about this. And there's a lot of talk about ISIS in the country. And we're just seeing different things that lead me to believe there may be something in the offing, maybe done on purpose, allowed to happen, a false flag, to further get us into more wars and to really, I think, sabotage MAGA and the Trump administration. What about the attack on an Iranian all-girls school that killed 165 reportedly? Was that the U.S. that did that? We're being told Israel did it. The U.S. did it. Who did this? Tucker Carlson's talking about it. Well, Matt Tardio spent a lot of time studying it. He says there's a 0% chance it was a Tomahawk or the U.S. government. We'll ask him to explain that. What about the issue of drones coming over our border and attacking us? How concerned is he about the growing issue of terrorism and a major big attack coming as big or bigger than 9/11? And are we also seeing people, enemies foreign and domestic, useful idiots? Some people maybe don't even know they're doing it. They're being used to stir things up here in the U.S. and create serious problems at home. America hating, pitting us against each other, doing the disinformation of Russia, China, Iran, creating all kinds of problems here in the U.S. as we go toward world war. Is he concerned about that at all? We got a lot to talk about with Matt Tardio tonight. I want to play several clips of Tucker Carlson and some of the really strange things he's saying. Also, Colonel Douglas McGregor, I got a clip where he says something about the U.S. having our bases attacked, our ports attacked, and how we're just, sounds like we're on the ropes. Sounds like to me what he's saying, we're kind of like on the ropes as a military. Is that true? We'll ask Matt Tardio to respond to these claims being made by people like Scott Ritter, Tucker Carlson, Colonel Douglas McGregor, and others. What is all of this about? There's so much to talk about tonight, and that's what we're going to do. But before we go to Matt Tardio, then we go to Patrick Wood. Remember, we are brought to you by you. A lot of you ordered up Bella Grace yesterday, and well, you should. It's spring. Spring is popping. We got things blooming here in the Mid-South, and you want to get in shape for the spring and the summer. I'm down to 167. I'd like to try to get down a little bit more. I'm down to 167, and I take Bella Grace every day. I take my Numi every day. I take, what's that, Logan? We weigh the same? Are you 167 now? Oh, well, you're a little bit taller than I am, so I should weigh less than that. But I'm working on it. But I'm taking all my nutrients, right? My Bella Grace, my Numi, my Gatatana. Now, I am doing much better today with my pinched nerve and my herniated disc in C6 and 7. I'm doing much better. I sleep on ice every night. That's one of the reasons I think I'm doing better to get all that inflammation down. But where did this inflammation problem come from? I was without this for 2 weeks, as you know, because we had an ice storm here and everything stopped. No UPS, no, Amazon or UPS, U.S. Postal Service, none of that. So I was without this for 2 weeks. Well, this is loaded with an anti-inflammatory. And when I was off of this for 2 weeks, this is when my problems really started. So, folks, I believe in Bella Grace big time. I got the hair growth going. I have to cut my fingernails way more often than I ever have. I don't have the acid reflux. I haven't taken a Pepcid since December of 2023. I have a lot of things that are positive because I think Bella Grace with that collagen, with the peptides cut short so your body actually absorbs it versus flushing it out. The cat's claw, that's that anti-inflammatory. And then the astaxanthin that takes on the free radicals. So I take this every day. And I have to tell you, I actually have been taking 2 a day lately to get this inflammation down with this, all these pinched nerves and all this garbage going on. Apparently, a lot of you agree. Because I'm told yesterday's sales were pretty high. So do what I do every day. Take that. I won't swish with this. I already swished with this today because you have to swish for about 3 minutes. But anyway, melissahousebg.com. The Bella Melts. The Bella Melts, they're over here. This stimulates your body's natural GLP-1. So no needles, stimulates your body's natural GLP-1. That's at melissahousebg.com. melissahousebg.com. Then I'll go to the swishforlife.com. Numi loaded with glutathione to detox your cells. And there's toxins everywhere. We have a lower third for that. There it is, swishforlife.com. And you know that studies show 165,000 studies at PubMed on glutathione can remove mercury from your brain, helping prevent Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's. So there you go. And then I do the, go to Melissa Howse, Howse, GPA.com. I do the Gatatana every day. I do Gatatana. That is one little scoop, the equivalent of 90 billion plant cells, phytoplankton, powerful phytoplankton. Dolly gets a half a scoop. There's the pet product. She gets half a scoop on her food every day. Okay, so check all that out, melissahousegpa.com. Remember the guy that had a terminal diagnosis? He started eating the phytoplankton he was growing for his crayfish and stuff. Went in for biopsies, like 14 of them. They all came back benign. He ended up living another 10 plus years, retired to Hawaii. I'm not making claims. I'm just telling you that's how this company came about. melissahousegpa.com. Then why don't you go over to worldviewtube.com/sponsors. worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Find out about all these great companies. Do you have your medical gear, your medical kits, your antibiotics in case there's an emergency? Your water filters? Drink good water. Drink clean water. I love our filter under our kitchen sink, the shower filter. I have that as well. Get all these toxins out of your water. Don't be drinking this garbage. Don't be drinking toxins. This water filter is amazing. Now, if you got a filter about a year and a half ago, about every year you need to change the filter, not the actual unit itself. You keep the unit, you just pull the filter out, put in a new filter. You can order the resupply of the filter there at worldviewwater.net, worldviewwater.net, or worldviewtube.com/sponsors, worldviewwater.net. Dollyfood.shop. She loves her happy howl. Dolly does. She's asleep right there on my pet bed. But she loves this. We've got her on this. We traveled recently. We didn't have to bring frozen food. We didn't have to unfreeze it. We can just travel with these boxes, rip them open, and feed your dog. She gets a variety. This is a tasty turkey feast. This is human grade food, by the way. She has lamb. She has like grandma's stew or something. There's all kinds of different brands there. Let's see what else. If it lists. Well, page not found. Well, we might want to fix that, Logan. That's weird. All right, Logan will get that fixed. I don't know why it's doing that. We'll get that fixed right now. But anyway, they got all, look, see, there's a Lamb Delight right there. It says it right there. Lamb Delight. Okay? So go ahead and get your food. We'll get it fixed here in the next few minutes. Dollyfood.shop. Dollyfood.shop. Supporting the health of your fur baby and us at the same time. worldviewtalk.com, worldviewtalk.com. Get your satellite phone, your solar generator. I have the solar generator. I have the Delta Echo 400. I have the satellite phone. When we were traveling recently, I took the satellite phone with me. We have the bulletproof backpack. Logan, you brought the bulletproof backpack, didn't you? Yeah. You got your beanies and blankets that knock down the EMF. All of that. Worldview Gold. Find out about how to put gold in your IRA. Or take the physical custody of it. We've been working with this company, guys, for 18 years. Worldviewgold.com or worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Whichever one, worldviewgold.com. And you get your no obligation free packet of information. You also can call 1-877-864-1072, 1-877-864-1072. Okay, so these are just some of the great companies we work with. I hope you'll check them out because these are all great ways to support us. Logan says he already has it fixed. Look at that boy. Let's see. Let's go back and see. No pressure, Logan. Whole world's watching. I got to refresh the main page. Refresh the main page. All right, let's try it again. Here we go. See, now those things move around, by the way, if you guys didn't know that when you refresh the page. There it is. All right, here we go, Logan. Bingo. There you go. Good job, Logan. Let me show a little video here.
This is a life hack for busy dog owners. If you're anything like me, mornings are crazy. You got a baby in one arm and 2 hungry dogs ready to eat. That's why Happy Howse is a lifesaver. You can store it in your pantry for up to 2 years. 0 preservatives. You can't do this with frozen food. All you have to do, flip, squeeze, tear. For 2 dogs, flip, squeeze, tear.
That's exactly what we do.
Happy How is the quality of frozen food with the convenience of kibble. Easy enough to serve with a baby in your arms. Not only is it more affordable, but it's 100 times more convenient. Now here's the tough part. You ready? You want to serve one of them? Sit. Sit. Good boys. Yay!
They love it, don't they? That's the way Dolly is every night and morning. Yep, they love it. So get your dog, that dollyfood.shop, dollyfood.shop, all right? And then let's see. Oh, yes, before we go to Matt Tardio, go to worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. Thank you to all of you that are supporting us, but we need more supporters. Please consider doing so now. worldviewfoundation.com. You'll also find our mailing address there, worldviewfoundation.com, so we can keep pushing out free programming each and every day. And we not only do we put out the live stream for free, then we put the various interviews back up as standalones for you to watch later or on demand or share with family and friends, all for free. But it's not free for us. We got to bring in about 40. Okay, Dolly. We got to bring in about 40 grand a month. Dolly, what are you barking at? Is somebody out there? What do you think you hear, Dolly? We got to bring in about $40,000 a month to keep this network afloat. All right. So there you go. Worldviewfoundation.com. That's worldviewfoundation.com. All right, Dolly, we got to figure out why you are barking. Does somebody just come into the studio, Logan? She's seeing a ghost out there? She's upset about something. She's a good guard dog. She alerts. She's good at alerting. All right, we got to get going. We got Matt Tardio standing by. Let's go. Joining me now is Matt Tardio, former Special Forces. You'll find him on X. Here's his handle, @AngerTab, @AngerTab. He joins us now to discuss many things, including related to what happened with the school in Iran. Did the USA strike the all-girls school in Iran? He says no. He's been investigating that. I also want to talk to him about this report from the New York Post yesterday. Iran sends out suspected operational trigger to activate sleeper cells abroad after Khomeini's death, U.S. officials warn. ABC News also put it out. Iran may be activating sleeper cells outside country, alert says. So interesting, as I said on radio today at 1 o'clock Central, when we would talk about these things for so many years, people thought that's crazy talk. That's conspiratorial. It's even Islamophobic, perhaps. And then the borders are open, and there's terrorists pouring over the borders. And we would point that out, and some people would say, it's just crazy talk. And the media didn't like it. Many in the media didn't like it. That's the rantings of white supremacy and racism. Now, all of a sudden, on cue, here comes ABC News wanting to talk about it. And I said today, doesn't that seem awfully interesting to you, the timing? And I find it also interesting that we have this article, which I've referenced in the Worldview Report tonight by my friend Daniel Greenfield. It's not ISIS, it's the Allah finger. Media mischaracterizes New York City bombers' gesture. They say it's a well-known salute to ISIS. Daniel Greenfield says there is no such thing as an ISIS salute. It is the traditional Islamic salute used during prayers to their deity, much like Allah Akbar. But yet the media is all jumping on this. Why? It almost sounds like some kind of narrative they're laying to get the American people ready for a terrorist attack. God forbid the deep state is going to carry off some kind of false flag event or allow something to happen, turn the other way so it does, in order to justify more wars and our kids involved. I don't know. I just, again, am very suspicious when the media all of a sudden starts promoting and saying what we've been saying for years. And when we said it, we were considered Islamophobic or over the top or extreme. Now they're reporting our headlines. All of this makes me wonder, why are they all on the same page? And are they so dumb they don't know that that's not an ISIS salute? But they sure want you to believe everything is about ISIS, including, another ISIS-related bomb found in New York. All of a sudden, everything's about ISIS and terror cells. Huh. I don't know. Let's see what Matt thinks about all that and more. Matt Tardio joins us. Matt, thank you for being with us tonight.
Of course. Thanks for having me back.
Let's go first to what you've been doing a big investigation on. Did the USA strike the all-girls school in Iran? And you say, no, they did not. Tell me about this.
Where would you like me to begin? There's so many different angles that we can take this from. So we can go with
bringing out maps and everything.
Oh, yeah. No, you have to, because, it's very easy for some very biased news organizations or very biased 501c3s to publish reports, show a picture and a video, and then all of a sudden claim this is the United States of America, and people buy into it because they're not familiar with any of these military matters. They just go, well, if the New York Times said it, or if, this certain investigative reporter said it, therefore it must be true. No, not at all. Probably the worst is when they go and they hire, experts that'll come in and, well, yeah, you're hiring an expert that agrees with your opinion that you're going to put out online. And that's completely and totally wrong. So here's what we discovered. As far as the New York Times goes, they have two sources for their videos that they ended up publishing in their report. One is the Islamic regime of Iran. The other one is a very pro-Iranian regime, like radical jihadists supporting nut job that posted one of the videos. And in all cases, when you go over and you look, the narrative is always going to be USA bad, Iran good, right? Like every time you look at it, just to make it quite simple. When we talk about the actual munition itself, it's approaching from the east, traveling west. It's actually like northeast, traveling south by southwest, which is completely absurd as far as a flight path goes. There's no other munitions that are being shown, within the video itself, just that one particular one coming down. It also happens to have a much steeper final angle of attack than your typical Tomahawk would have, sitting about 80 degrees. Typical Tomahawks can max out at about 70. Do we have Tomahawks that are capable of going beyond that? We sure do. But again, why is it approaching from the direction in which it shouldn't go? It doesn't make sense to have it fly over the land as opposed from over the Gulf of Oman at about 50 miles. It reaches offshore, just be going straight in there. Further, why is this all girls school actually situated there? Inside of an IRGC compound. There's lots of girls' schools all on the other side of town, but why is this one particularly inside of an IRGC compound? Now, the critics try to state that, well, the IRGC put walls up. They sure did, but they left a gate open to it. And at post-strike, you can see plenty of fresh tire tracks going in and out of this school, right? They're willing to release those photographs to show that. And then we also have posts that I ended up sharing as well that show people that were alleging pre and post-strike that those girls were learning how to make missiles, that they're martyrs. And as a matter of fact, the video that the New York Times ended up put up shows a huge camo net hanging in the corner, which is not cheap, of this alleged classroom, for these girls, with pictures of what appears to be martyred members of the IRGC. And so all of these things add up and combine. You got to ask yourself, why in the world would they put this there? Why does this exist? And why are you now claiming that it's the United States that ended up doing this with a Tomahawk? And by the way, the explosion that ends up taking place when this random cruise missile or munition falls out of the sky, the explosion that ends up taking place doesn't even match that of a U.S. Tomahawk that has about 1,000 pounds equivalent of TNT inside of it. It's much smaller, than an actual Tomahawk strike. Also, the wing proportions, when we start talking about the overall munition length, because I don't know the distance the video was taken at, I can't determine, how long that particular munition is. I can't determine any of that. But what I can do is I can work off percentages in this grainy video and take an average of them. And the average percentage for where the wings are positioned along the body is about 40% from the nose working backwards. 40 to 43% in there is where you actually end up getting it for the wings sitting back from the nose. And then obviously you have the other, variation that goes behind. Well, the problem with that is the Tomahawk wings sit center mass, 50% all the time. That's where they go, 50% of the way back. And so we have all of these different variations and all of these different problems, and yet everybody wants to claim it's a Tomahawk. Why? Because the Iranian regime pushed that out to the media outlets and wants to claim that. Yesterday, they ended up bringing forward different, components of what they say was the U.S. Tomahawk that ended up striking the facility. RT was really quick to post about it. RT was really quick to put that information about. And RT has been working with the Islamic regime of Iran for quite some time. They were sending news reporters over there to interview and different members of the regime, trying to whitewash the genocide that was taking place over inside of Tehran and across the country before the U.S. began striking them. It is appalling to me that, 10 days after the strike, they claim to find a table full of components when the reality is if a Tomahawk hit, your components would be thrown every which way and into the wind, and that they would actually find one and immediately post about it, immediately be excited, immediately send that out. But instead, no, we're going to present these as a spread out table of components. That's not how that works. That's not how you find those components. There's so much that's wrong with this. It's not even funny as we start looking at it. And then we can talk about the heavy, thick black smoke as well. This stuff that I haven't even put on. That heavy, thick black smoke is because it lacks an oxidizer, like a very good, clean oxidizer, good, clean burning explosive. You think the United States used poorly oxidized, explosives inside of there? Absolutely not. It's disgusting, it's appalling, and it's nothing that I would put past a regime that slaughtered, upwards of 35 to 40,000 of their own people in a couple days time span.
So you think that Iran did it?
Yeah.
In order to blame it on the U.S.
I would not put it past the Islamic regime of Iran to kill their own people. They have done so in the past. They've poisoned an entire girls' school. In the past, they've shot down their own airplanes out of the dang sky with their own passengers on them. I have seen before in my dealings with radical Islam, I have seen radical Islamists put civilians directly in harm's way and threaten to kill them if they moved, and then tried to set up ambushes on us so that we could shoot at them and shoot at the Islamists, but if we accidentally hit the civilians, they're going to immediately blast it out and blame it on us. This is the type of mentality that these people have. They don't give two craps about the people of their own country. They consider them martyrs. That's what they consider. Because if they do this, then they're dying for the cause, they're dying for Islam, and that puts them in a great place in heaven. And of course, it's good for them. It's good for their people. It's good for the little girls. They just don't know any better. If there even was little girls inside the school.
Well, that's a good question. Do we know that actually 165 girls were in there? We don't?
Haven't seen a body.
But you think they
haven't seen a body.
You think they would parade those out there?
Mm-hmm. No, they went over, they dug graves. There was one poorly released photo from the IRGC that showed a boot standing next to what appeared to be a little girl's hand holding a stuffed animal, which, is like covered in rubble, looked extremely AI generated. All of these things are included in the reports, but it's disgusting. It's disgusting that they would put that out. And you wonder where Hamas inside Gaza gets it from. Hamas, vastly funded by the IRGC, and we've watched them produce fake accusation after fake accusation time and time again. This is very reminiscent of the Al-Halal hospital over inside of eastern Gaza. Like a couple days before Israel ended up rolling in there, they tried to claim that Israel ended up dropping a bomb on this hospital and it killed over 500 people. Mainstream media outlets ran with it. Everybody ran with it because it was what the PIJ had put out to mainstream media outlets. It's what the Palestinian Islamic Jihad told them. Therefore, they thought it was true. Never mind the fact that the PIJ rocket was live streamed on Al Jazeera, smashing into the freaking ground. You can watch the Venturi blow out the backside and the rocket just smash right into it. And to this day, and by the way, the one news outlet, or excuse me, the one 50C3 that everybody's running around quoting, Bellingcat, that's trying to state that this is very valid. I went back and I checked the reporting on that strike from inside Gaza, and they actually looked at the crater. Not a snowball's chance that thing belonged to the United States. It was not a bomb. There's no way. It's very clearly a crater from a Islamic rocket, right? A homemade crap Islamic rocket that ended up smacking into this hospital parking lot. And it didn't kill 500 people. It lit a bunch of cars on fire, blew the hole inside of a car, things like that, but it didn't kill 500 people. But our media is so biased that to this day, they still attribute 500 deaths of Palestinians to that incident because that is what the Gaza Ministry of Health claimed. That's ran by Hamas. And now in the opening days of this war, what do we see? Very similar thing, mass casualty event. Instead of a hospital, it's a little girls' school, one that we have a good track record on of being, basically might as well be a Hitler youth factory, right? If it is a little girls' school, it's a Hitler youth factory, for a lack of better terms, turning these young girls into jihadists, and that's that. And I hate to break that to the American people, but that's what it is. And nor, by the way, do I think this is a Tomahawk, just based off of the explosion alone and the smoke that ends up coming off of that thing. Not to mention the attack angle, not to mention the direction of the attack, not to mention the wing ratio, and so on and so forth. And yet the mainstream media is just lying to everybody. It's appalling. It's absolutely appalling. Who are their experts? Who are these people? Russian shills? Scott Ritter? Douglas
you just
McGregor?
brought up the name. You just brought up the name I was going to go to, Scott Ritter. I see her. Yeah. Tell our audience more about him, please.
Where do you want me to go? Where would you like me to go?
Well,
you want me to go with being convicted
shill.
of going after? Yeah, you want me to go with being convicted of going after young girls? Multiple. Do you want me to talk about the years he spent in prison for doing that? He used to be a UN's weapons inspector, and his big claim to fame is he says that he ended up calling it that there was no weapons of mass destruction inside of Iraq. Well, he used to go on CNN, he used to go on Fox, he used to go on all of these things and speak very openly about his assessments until he got arrested, and then he spent time in jail for targeting young women, young girls. And then after that, all of a sudden, it looks like he's taking money, in my opinion, from RT, from lots of other locations. That's my opinion, that he's taking the money from there, because he's constantly featured on RT. The last time I debated him, embarrassed him badly. He had just returned from the front lines, not in Ukraine, but from Russia. He returned from the front lines in Russia, pushing nothing but a Kremlin narrative. I just watched an interview that he did saying that Israel is now going to cease to exist, that millions of people are going to leave from Israel, if all of this happens. And it's the same thing across all of these Russian news outlets. And the sad part is a lot of them are Americans, and they're skirting different sanctions and everything else, in my opinion, in order to get by, working for RT, because nobody else wants to hire them.
So what happened to Colonel McGregor, by the way? Have you?
I think it's the same.
What's going?
I think it's the same thing.
Well, what's his garbage?
Doug McGregor. Yeah, I refuse to call him Colonel because, in my opinion, he probably sold out to the Russians too. See him on RT plenty. Yeah, the same thing. I watched him during the invasion of Gaza before that actually went down. This is when he reappeared on my radar. All the way back in 2023, he was saying that U.S. Special Operations troops had gone into Gaza to rescue American citizens, and they got slaughtered in the tunnels by Hamas. And now we've got a bunch of U.S. Special Forces guys that are just slaughtered in these tunnels, and you're never going to hear about it, and so on and so forth. I mean, just blatant lies, things of that nature is when he first popped up. He's the one that ended up giving a bad assessment, trying to say, prior to us striking Iran, that U.S. aircraft carriers were done because there's no way that those aircraft carriers can be protected against ballistic missiles. And the fact is, U.S. aircraft carriers have a specific destroyer that moves along with them that does, in fact, protect against ballistic missiles. I mean, this is just straight Russian narrative propaganda. And you hear the same stuff coming out from the war in Ukraine, but all of it just is counter-American agenda. None of it's American. None of it's even accurate. By the way, it's misinformation. It's disinformation.
Well, in fact,
and in my opinion, they're probably being paid to do it.
Here's a clip of McGregor on One American News with Matt Gaetz. Listen to this.
China and Russia are sitting on the sidelines monitoring everything. They're in close touch with the government. They're providing satellite intelligence, which accounts for some of the tremendous successes, particularly in Israel and our U.S. bases. All of our bases have been destroyed. Our harbor installations are destroyed. We're actually having to fall back on India and Indian ports, which are less than ideal. That's what the Navy says. And I think Iran, much to our disappointment, is faring very, very well.
So our ports and bases are being destroyed?
Yeah, I would love to see his source for, number one, ports did get hit and bases have been hit around the Middle East. The Department of War doesn't hide this, but saying that they've been completely destroyed is another thing. Iran sneaking past a Shahed drone is one thing. No air defense system is absolute. You're never going to protect against every single munition from the sky. It's this absolute fallacy that can actually happen. But again, saying that our bases have been completely destroyed and that we're going to end up getting it in the end, the guy's full of it. That lie about us needing to go to India to refit because our ports are destroyed. No, that was a rumor that was flying around on Twitter a long time ago. Rumor. That was flying around on Twitter. I would love to see his actual official U.S. Navy source that the Navy said that in order to refit, we're going to have to go all the way back to India in order to make this happen because Iran destroyed our ports. The man's a liar. It's a lie. They didn't say that, and he certainly alleged that inside of that video, nor have our bases been completely and totally destroyed and inoperable. Where does he think we're launching all of these aircraft from? Where does he think all of these, I mean, we're firing ATACMS at him from Kuwait, for crying out loud. This is insane that he would say that. Yeah, they had a lucky shot with a drone. Other than that, we've been putting the work to them. Same thing in Iraq and Erbil. They're trying to, take out our places up there. Zero success, zero. And their munitions that are falling on Israel are cluster munitions. They're 20-kilogram bomblets that are being released. So inside of their cluster ballistic missile, medium-range ballistic missile that they fire at Israel, it's got 80 individual bomblets inside of it that end up getting released, which appears to be on probably 3 separate pods. Each one weighs 20 kilograms, but there's only about 3 kilograms worth of explosives. And these things are just scattering all around Tel Aviv, everywhere else, because there's no point in trying to shoot 80 individual bomblets with 3 kilograms of explosives. I think they killed 2 people yesterday. And that is his great success. That is Israel being destroyed. That is the U.S. bases going down. The man's a Russian shill. He's pushing a Kremlin narrative. And I'd be really happy if somebody dug into his finances and figured out maybe he is taking money from a foreign government and should be registered as a foreign agent.
Here he is, shockingly, with Tucker Carlson. Listen to what he said. Here we go.
Once again, do you think it's possible that nuclear weapons are used?
If a nuclear weapon is used, it will be by Netanyahu and his government, not us.
Yes, good.
Israel is different, as we've discussed. And the more desperate they become, if Iran does not submit, and I see no evidence that they will submit, the more likely that option could be embraced and employed. And that's why we started this, because you asked specifically about who has the authority. I hope President Trump does, but I don't think so. I think Mr. Netanyahu is going to do whatever Mr. Netanyahu wants to do.
Matt?
Yeah. Yep. And there you go. There's your Russian narrative. Trump doesn't have the trigger authority when it comes to nuclear weapons in the United States of America, apparently. I guess when the 12-day war was happening, on the last day when Bibi thought it'd be a good idea to fly planes over, and Trump went on Twitter and told him to turn those planes around now, and Netanyahu turned those planes around, that wasn't enough evidence for him that the U.S. is actually barking orders and controlling Israel and keeping them under check. I guess when Israel was stacked up outside of Rafah, ready to go in and save the lives of U.S. citizens that were being held hostage, namely Hirsch Goldberg, who ended up getting found dead inside of a tunnel a few months later, and Kamala Harris refused and held up an arms sale to stop Israel from going in and getting our hostages back. And they sat outside, stacked, ready to go for months, waiting to go in there. I guess Kamala holding up arms and preventing Israel from going into Rafah, that wasn't us controlling them. I guess Joe Biden's port, his humanitarian aid port that they didn't need, was Israel controlling the U.S. narrative. I'm sure Israel made a lot of money off that. No, Joe Biden supporters or the military industrial complex or anything like that. We ended up losing a U.S. soldier's life in that chaos. It's stupidity. These people have either A, no idea what they're talking about and they have no business speaking on it, or B, they're getting paid by the Kremlin. There's no other option, in my opinion.
Yeah. Here's another one of Tucker. Here we go.
So the key, really, whether you think this is insane, as a lot of people do, probably the majority of the country believes that, or you think it's necessary. Some people do believe that. Fox News viewers believe that. Democratic leaders believe that in the House and Senate. But no matter what side you're on, the United States needs to behave with honor. Now, why is that? Because that's the whole point of being the United States. You can't have wars in a democratic republic or in a country where the people supposedly rule, where their consent is necessary, whether it is or not. That's what we tell ourselves. You can't have wars unless you believe that you are, on the deepest level, better than the people you're fighting. We're not savages. They are. Therefore, we get to kill them. And we've always told ourselves that, and in some cases it has been absolutely true. Whether we can kill them or not is another question. It's a moral question, but as a sort of matter of civic engagement, the population has to believe they're better than the people they're fighting, or else you can't have the war. And you're really sort of flirting with revolution at that point, and we don't want that. So in order to believe you're better than your opponent, you have to be. You have to behave with honor. And so, for example, if innocents are killed, girls at a school, to name a current example, you have to believe that it was accidental, and you have to say out loud that was wrong. And in this specific case, the bombing of a girls' school next to an Iranian naval base that was apparently the school of choice for officers at the naval base. These were the children, the daughters of the people we're fighting. You have to believe that was accidental. Despite the fact it was hit twice, 40 minutes apart, looks very much like a double tap, which is to say a bombing and then an attack on the people coming to rescue the injured. That's what it looks like. But as an American, you have to believe this was a tragic mistake. But we have to verify that. We have to know for certain that it was in order to keep our honor. Because if you wake up in the morning and you're living in the kind of country that thinks it's okay to kill not simply military officers, but their daughters, that country's not worth fighting for.
Wow.
Yeah, I would be very surprised if there was a 100 kids, daughters that work for the that are daughters of men that work on that base, on that tiny little IRGC compound, that there's 100 daughters in total out of all the personnel that work on that IRGC compound that go to that quote unquote jihadist school that they have set up in the back corner of it, that they have open gate access to. It's absolutely insane. And where is Tucker getting his information from, by the way, that it's the daughters of the IRGC that are going there? Who would feed him that information? Who? And he loves that narrative because it fits his agenda, his anti-America, blasting the word neocon as if it's a bad thing agenda. right? Pretending that like there is no reason for us to be at war with Iran. Never mind the fact that 1 out of every 5 to 6 service members killed or wounded in the Middle East over the last 20 years is directly connected to the IRGC. Never mind that. Don't worry about them being the largest state sponsor of terror. And here's like an inconvenient truth for Tucker Carlson. It's odd to me that he is so scared about landing inside of Israel that he thinks the U.S. embassy has to send a special message to their military to keep him from being shot out of the sky, not the tower on the ground for his scheduled flight that he admits it was scheduled. His flight was coming in. Thereby, it's being tracked. But he thinks that the Israeli military needs informed by the U.S. embassy not to. He's so scared of that, but not the Islamic extremists that have killed and wounded hundreds and thousands of U.S. service members. Get out of here, dude. Just get lost. At that point, your confirmation bias has kicked in. He's still on the narrative that there's a genocide in Gaza, despite the growing population. They're all starving to death, apparently, except for the fact that none of them are starving to death. Where's my Holocaust-looking people inside of Gaza, other than the ones that the Gaza Ministry of Health puts out that look like they're diseased, when it's later confirmed that they are diseased? There's great articles that have been written up on this. It's disturbing. Other than that, they're very well fed. There's certainly a lot of fat people inside Gaza.
There are.
Because we've been correct. There's brand new cars that are going in there, brand new clothes, like all sorts of stuff. And I'll tell you something else I found out when I was over inside Israel, when I went down to the border, going in and out between both of them. They're using the humanitarian aid and they're smuggling in weapons and equipment. And I've got geo-tagged photographs with date and time stamps on them of the actual inspection points of actual ordnance that has been pulled off vehicles that are shipping humanitarian aid, and they're hiding it amongst the humanitarian aid. Like, I'm so tired of these idiots like Tucker that thinks he knows what's going on in this world. He's got zero clue. You know what he has? He's got an agenda. He's got apparently a great contract from Qatar. For some reason, he fell in love with the Qataris, right? Didn't he? Real quick. Well, and now he's pushing the agenda over there.
I think Hamas is a political organization. Isn't that what he said?
Yeah, that's what he wants to say. He wants to say they're a political organization, not a terrorist organization. Well, again, Tucker Carlson, maybe you need to get some better information about the definition of terrorism. It doesn't matter whether or not you're a political organization. If you are pushing a radical ideological agenda and willing to do fear, harm, cause injury, kill in order to push your political or ideological agenda, that fits the definition of terrorism. So I don't care if you call them a political organization or not. I don't care if you call them a religious organization. The fact is, it still fits the definition, and they are terrorists, whether he likes it or not. He is one of the nastiest people alive.
All you have to do is read Hamas's own charter, right?
Right.
Here's another clip.
And we're going to deny what took place over inside of Iran. We're going to deny what all of the women that are coming out of Iran are saying, like when they switch over from being Muslim to Christian, being thrown in the prisons underground, being raped, beaten, tortured, as if that regime wouldn't kill their own people. Okay, Tucker.
Speaking of rape, here's another clip by Tucker. Here we go.
Unconditional surrender means foreign troops get to rape your wife and daughter if they want. And everyone knows that. And that has been, if there's one consistent lesson of history, it means unconditional surrender means foreign troops get to rape your wife and daughter. Everyone can feel that. That's like the most atavistic instinct there is. And so to avoid that, people will do anything. And so that's why it requires that level of force to get a population subdued to the point of unconditional surrender. That's why. And so in this case, of course, we don't have the ground force necessary. I don't think Americans would voluntarily participate in it. I just don't think we can do that. It would require weapons of mass destruction. It would require presumably nuclear weapons in order to do that. And let's not lie to ourselves. We're moving toward that.
What is he trying to say with this whole rape and unconditional surrender? What is he? What is he? I don't want to misquote him or cast it wrong,
nope,
but
you nailed it. You nailed it. He said unconditional surrender means our troops get to rape you. That's what he said. That's not what unconditional surrender means. So one, that's a mischaracterization of what unconditional surrender is. No, it's meet our demands or we're going to keep blowing the crap out of you. That's unconditional surrender. You meet every single one of our demands. meaning you don't get to provide your conditions to meet our demands. And right now, the U.S. has a couple demands. One, stop enriching uranium. Stop stockpiling and enriching uranium. You're in violation of the NPT. You're in violation of all sorts of stuff. Stop doing it. Number two, stop funding foreign terror organizations. And number three, your ballistic missile range is getting limited to 300 kilometers. Those were the U.S. demands. Unconditionally, it means you will meet those or we will bomb you. It has nothing to do with our troops going in and securing it. And he's so delusional. Apparently, Tucker Carlson is a tactician, and he knows that in order for the United States to win inside of Iran, that we must, like, not even putting boots on the ground would do it. Therefore, we must drop nuclear weapons, or Israel must drop nuclear weapons. Do you know why? Because back during the 12-day war, prior to, he said World War III would break out the moment we bombed Iran, and that didn't come true. So, hey, Tucker, what happened to your prediction about World War III after we bombed Iran during the 12-day war? Did that ever come through? No. And so now he's got to continue to push his agenda. That's why. He's got no idea what he's talking about. He brings on people that also are pushing Russian agendas and narratives. He doesn't question them. And his whole goal, it appears to be, is to be some sort of like incel trying to like dilute popular support here in the United States of America.
Here's another one.
Israel, which is one of the single ugliest countries in the world. Nothing of beauty has been built there since 1948. Sorry, I've been everywhere in that country, and it's true. And I come to Israel, and the infrastructure, we were flying in, and I said to my buddy, I was like, man, first of all, looks great. I love the agriculture in Israel because it's beautiful. I love green. I love plants.
I remember when it didn't look like that.
Yeah.
First time I came in 53 years ago.
It's great.
It did not look like that.
Great. Looks a lot nicer than our country. And it has higher standard of living. It has nicer roads than the United States.
Wow. What?
I don't even think that deserves a response from me. It speaks for itself.
I just think that speaks for itself and tells you everything you need to know about Tucker, right? All right, so
All you need to know about Tucker.
Let's move to this. Now the New York Post tells us Iran sends out suspected operational trigger to activate sleeper cells abroad after Khomeini's death, U.S. officials warn. ABC News, Iran may be activating sleeper cells outside the country. Okay, we've been talking about this kind of stuff for a long time. Go back into our vault, worldviewtube.com/vault. Type in the perfect day. You'll see several interviews we did in 2008 about Beslan and the killing of over 300, many of them children, in Russia by the Islamists, and how many experts have warned that our schools are a target in America. Last night we had on Dave Gobbets. We hired Dave, paid Dave to go undercover for us to some of the mosques in Texas, particularly the one there in the Plano area. He's gone undercover in about 425 mosques, he has reported to us. And he says that some of these Islamic leaders have told him that when he's asked him what is coming, what's one of the things that you guys might do, the movement, Islamist. And he said again last night on the broadcast, what they told me was next time we will hit the Americans where it is nearest and dearest to their hearts. And David said, well, what is that? Of course, talking to us last night. What would you say is the nearest and dearest thing to the hearts of Americans? And by and large, you'd have to say it's their children and their grandchildren. So we've been talking about this for a long time. 2008, our archive will show you where we've been talking about the concern of hitting schools, terror cells, and we've been called Islamophobia, over the top, racist, all kinds of things. Now, all of a sudden on cue, here comes the media. Terror cells might be activated. Well, they didn't want to talk about this years ago, or when we were talking about the border being so porous. And now all of a sudden they want to talk about it. Or the trials where we have some people who've been tied back to Hezbollah here in the U.S. Now they want to talk about it. Now we're seeing this is an ISIS salute. That wasn't an ISIS salute. It's pointing to like Allah Akbar. There's one but true God, Allah.
No. It is the heat saying that there is one God.
Right.
And the reason they point this out is because Christians believe in the Trinity.
Right.
And they think it's blasphemy. They think it's wrong.
Therefore,
and this is where they bring it up. They don't think that we think in a monotheistic God.
Right. We're polytheists, and therefore we're a cult.
That's right. And so they are that is a direct insult, and that is where that's coming from. And it was made popular and famous by ISIS. Period. That's where it came from. Have they been using it before in the past? Absolutely. But to deny to deny that that is what it is currently present day being used for, not just across ISIS, but other Islamic terror organizations as well, is like denying the Shahada being written on the majority of the terrorist flags, going, well, that's not a terrorist flag. It's just the Shahada is written on it. Not a big deal. No, that's their flag. I don't care that the Shahada is written on it. That's their flag. That's what that means. Same thing. You might have used this before in the past for one thing, but now it means something completely and totally different. Let's put things in context and stop lying to people.
So the media, though, wants to talk about ISIS a lot now, right? This is everywhere.
Sure.
So what I'm trying to figure out, Matt, is why all of a sudden is the media willing to talk about what they weren't willing to talk about when Biden was open and the borders were so porous, and we were warning about terrorist attacks and terror cells and school security and soft targets, and we got to stop with these gun-free zones that are nothing but, again, shooting fish in a barrel. Now all of a sudden it's ISIS, it's terror cells, it's soft targets. Are they trying to lay a narrative? Is the deep state going to turn their eye and let somebody do something? Because it seems like every time we see a terrorist attack, oh, yeah, we had our eye on him. Yeah, we had our eye on him. We knew who that guy was, but he got to do what he did. Or they're encouraging it, like one father saying, he kept telling the FBI, stay away from my mentally undeveloped child. It was an older child, but they kept coming around like they're trying to bait this kid to do something. And he kept telling them, quit coming around here. So one has to wonder, why all of a sudden this narrative? Is the deep state going to encourage it? Or are they going to do a false flag? Or are they going to just turn a blind eye to the groups already here? I don't know. But it seems as though they really want a war. And we've been saying for a long time, war checks all the boxes, whether it's the collapsing economy in Europe. We've got our own problems with our debt to GDP is now at a percentage that's really not sustainable. So I don't know if they're wanting to walk Donald Trump into a world war and really destroy the MAGA movement and him. I don't know what enrich the military industrial complex. I don't know what their agenda is. But when the media start getting on the same narrative that we were criticized for and labeled as extremist or Islamophobic for, then I started thinking, why are they all of a sudden switching their narrative like that?
Yeah, it's a good question because I've been pushing it for a long time. I know a lot of other people have been pushing it for a long time as well. So I'm not sitting here pretending like I'm the only one that's noticed, increase in issues with ISIS underneath Joe Biden. We've been pushing that for a very, very long period of time. I could point to a terror attack that got thwarted down in Texas, outside of Dallas. outside of the DFW region. I can point to another one over inside Oklahoma. I can point to what took place over inside of Washington, D.C. I could point you towards DHS reports and so on and so forth when it comes down to these ISIS terrorists making their way into the United States of America. But for them to now suddenly pick up and go, oh my gosh, it's a thing. I'll tell you where I actually think it's going to come from. Are you ready for this one? I think it's actually going to come because they're going to blame it on Trump. They're going to ignore all of the past reports that we've been talking about, how this got overlooked underneath Biden and how they've been allowed to enter in the United States of America underneath Biden. They're going to ignore that. And instead, what they're going to do is they're going to point to al-Jawlani over inside of Syria. Prior to starting this war over inside of the Middle East, this latest one, we had sent Joe Kent over into Iraq to secure over 3,000 ISIS prisoners from inside of Syria before U.S. forces kind of backed and pulled out of there. He had actually secured the transfer of over 3,000 ISIS prisoners from Jawlani's forces over into Iraq so that the Iraqis could hold on to them. Immediately following that, there was a lot of reports on the ground coming out from inside Syria saying that Jawlani is putting these men back on the streets. The U.S. secured the worst of the worst. That's what the U.S. did. The U.S. ended up securing the worst of the worst, and we were able to get out as many as humanly possible and get the absolute worst back out of there. But I guarantee you, mainstream media is going to be pointing at this now, and they're going to be screaming, it's Trump's fault for these ISIS terrorists because he put Jawlani in charge. Watch.
Well, we already know the Jews have been accused of 9/11. So if they don't blame it on Donald Trump, how do we know they're not going to carry out some event in the U.S. and blame it on the Jews to further get America to want to go fight their wars? Because they've already been pushing that since 9/11.
They are. They're going to blame it on the Jews. Well, at least they got the space lasers things right. Only they're now mounted on our warships. I don't know if you saw that or not. That information.
No, what was that? What's that?
I said, at least they got the space lasers right. You know what I mean? Only they're not shooting down, they're shooting up, which is a good thing, in my opinion. They can take out different drones, different munitions. So that's great. But they're mounted on U.S. warships now. So, but other than that, yeah, it's all a bunch of garbage.
Let's go to promote his site again here. Here it is, @AngerTab, @AngerTab. Anything else you want to mention to our audience before we let you go? I mean, are you concerned that a terrorist attack is coming or multiple terrorist attacks? Are you concerned something bigger than 9/11 might be coming?
Bigger than 9/11. I know that they're planning to do another terror attack here in the United States of America that is supposed to be 9/11-like. They want it to be very close to 9/11-like. I know it's supposed to involve drones, in that they are going to be targeting numerous different locations or plan on targeting numerous different locations around the country. So question is how, quickly, that's old intel, right? But how quickly is our intel community moving on this, and how rapidly are they doing it? I actually think this is why, the Trump administration has moved towards these mass deportations when it comes to illegal immigrants. I've talked about this before, long before the Iran, we are getting a hold of as many illegals as we can and getting them out of the country. From Venezuela, you've got pipelines for Hezbollah, for the IRGC, for Russians, for the CCP, all of them coming across, into the United States of America. None of them want to just, make an honest, decent living in the United States. Those aren't hardworking mothers and fathers. They're people looking to do harm. And so we don't know who came into the United States underneath Biden. We also don't know who continues to come into the United States illegally underneath Trump. Our border is not completely secure. We do have, our numbers going down. We have more people going out than we have coming in. And he stated during the State of the Union address that for the first time we had zero illegals enter into the country. That's not true. That's a lie. Or he just misspoke because he was really excited and pumped up speaking on national TV, or he's tired because he's dealing with war. But either way, we've had illegals crossing this country. We don't know who those people are. That's the point of them being illegal. And so I believe that's the big reason that we've been going around rounding them all up, not to mention the voter fraud, not to mention the amount of wasted tax dollars and everything else that goes into it. Then we went after Venezuela. Now we're going after Iran. And the next people that we really got to worry about is Russia and China, because they're not happy. That's why you got mouthpieces like Scott Ritter and Doug McGregor speaking out against the United States of America right now.
Is this war with Iran also a war with China? Since doesn't
Absolutely.
China get fuel from Iran and they have all kinds of other agreements and partnerships?
Absolutely. 40% of Chinese oil comes through the Strait of Hormuz, and they do have different, agreements and partnerships. U.S. stopped a container ship back in November. U.S. SOF ended up stopping a container ship going from China to Iran back in November, pulling weapons off of it and getting rid of it. Just prior to us striking, China and Iran were in the final phases of China selling anti-ship ballistic missiles to Iran in order to target U.S. warships. Russia has been providing the nuclear scientists for their uranium enrichment program. Russia has been providing them S-400 and S-300 aerial defense assets. The only thing that actually came out of McGregor's mouth that was accurate was that Russia and China are providing Iran with intelligence. That we know, that's a fact. Other than that, pretty much everything else that comes out of their mouth is a lie. And this is the IRGC was kind of like the money laundering aspect for both Russia and China, helping them out in big ways. And in return, they were getting kickbacks for all the things that they did, and they were using the money from those countries to fund the IRGC, to fund their ballistic missile program, to fund their nuclear research. That's where that money was coming from. And now we've removed that. So one, the Chinese economy is going to be hurting bad. If we shut off 40% of the oil to the Chinese economy, they've only got about 3 months worth of oil stocked up in their strategic reserve. That's it. 3 months. That's all they get. After that, they're going to be hurting. They're going to have to slow down production. When you slow down production over inside of China, guess what happens? Well, your industrial output goes down a lot slower, and the price of those commodities is going to go up. Those are being purchased by Russia for their war machine. I use the example of ball bearings because everybody knows what a ball bearing is. They're buying that crap from China. Well, when the U.S. cuts off their oil, that's a problem, because now they're going to have less ability to ship, manufacture, and produce those different ball bearings to help, build the Russian tanks and Russian equipment and all that other crap. Same thing with their steel mills and frickin' refineries, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you're going to have problems there. That's going to cost Russia a lot of money. At the same time, Russia can't skirt as many sanctions anymore because now Iran's getting cut out. So that's hitting their bottom dollar. And they're going to pay more coming out of China to get everything that they want and need. It's a big deal. This is a globally strategic move to chop out Iran. I could care less about, how much enriched uranium Iran has. I mean, this is minuscule in comparison to when you talk about Iran being kind of like the leg that's propping up Russia and China.
we've been talking some time about civil war in America and world war at the same time. And it seems as though with all this anti-American talk, unconditional surrender means this, all of this anti-Americanism we have going on. And then, of course, you have the Islamists, the red-green axis, the Marxists, all of it at one time here, happening here. Now we're starting seeing about terror cells. It seems as though this is kind of their goal here, is to get things really stirred up in America while we also go into deeper world war. Do you see that as a strategy too?
Yeah. Let's talk about some of the things that have been talked about in Congress recently. Dragging in Tim Walz to interview him about fraud. Was there ever a question in any congressman's mind that they wouldn't have just been stonewalled the way they were, right? Sitting him and his AG up in front and trying to ask him questions. What were they looking to prove doing that? It's a dog and pony show for the American people. It's a distraction. All those things are a pretty big distraction. And when our government is not functioning efficiently, we've got a lot of problems. All of these munitions, all these bombs that we're dropping, everything that needs to get done. We've had government shutdowns, 2 now? Right? Our government's not running efficiently, and that needs to get fixed. And I think some of it is you have certain members of our government that have been getting paid off by foreign influence. We found gold in the pockets of freaking senators before, so I don't think it's outside the realm of possibilities to understand that Russia and China are doing the exact same thing here in the United States of America. And don't be shocked when you learn that the cartels are doing it as well. But that's slowing us down. We can't get anything done.
And the cartels are, of course, of great concern when it comes to them on the border with Mexico and America. And then these drones you talk about, and it was probably a year and a half, 2 years ago. I wish we could find that clip again, Logan. It was when I was interviewing Annie Cyrus a year and a half, 2 years ago, and the IRGC had put out a video showing them launching drones in what looked like the desert. Could very have easily been the deserts of the Southwest coming into Arizona or whatever. And we were, and their drones were shooting at cardboard cutouts of human beings and then crashing into them. And the IRGC put this video footage out. And Andy and I were discussing that a year and a half, 2 years ago, saying, this is the kind of thing you could see them launching on our border, particularly when they're in a relationship with the cartels. And we know the cartels are in a relationship with China for the precursor chemicals for fentanyl. We know that there's been some kind, what's that?
I said bingo.
Bingo. We know there's been some kind of a relationship with some of these tunnels. Hey, let's work together, build tunnels. You guys smuggle drugs. We'll smuggle weapons. You can smuggle humans. We can all benefit on this. And then we look at the cartels, and we've shown the video over the years with Todd Bensman, who's now working as the personal assistant next to Tom Homan. We've shown the videos of the cartels with military equipment. I mean, full-on military gear and equipment and trucks. And so you talk about the threat at our border with these drones that you mentioned a while ago, and it is absolutely something that I think is of great, great concern. And I want to go, as we get ready to wrap here, to Trump. I'm very concerned for him. And now Iran is today threatening him again, right? How concerned are you for President Trump's safety? I see that today he was at a Chevron in Miami and got out and went in, and it was obviously cleared. There were people that were there. Maybe you can bring up the footage, Logan. So it was obviously cleared in advance, but he's still going out into areas and at a time of war where he's got direct threats from Iran on him. And I'm very concerned for President Trump and our nation as our commander-in-chief, our chief executive. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, they're not going to stop trying to kill him. Neither is Russia. Neither of them are. I mean, that's a valid concern. It's a valid concern what you stated about the threats on Donald Trump's life. It's a valid concern what you stated about the threat of the cartel down in Mexico, working side by side with terror organizations from around the world. Because those are all very valid threats. When you look at the assassination attempt from Mar-a-Lago down in Florida, the first one of the guy hiding in the bushes, he was there just a couple hours after they made the plans to do that. Who's given him the intelligence that he needs to be there in the bushes? He's not even from that particular state, but he's following around, and he knows to go and set it in those bushes on that green that he's going to be traveling down just a couple hours after they make that decision. So who's providing that intelligence? Well, Doug McGregor finally gave a very good answer, which is Russia and China are providing intelligence to Iran. they're also recruiting these actors. This is my belief, and I think I've got a pretty solid one. And I can even point to the assassination attempt for him on the campaign trail. And this is exactly why. This is exactly why they tried to kill him when he was on the campaign trail. Everybody's pointing to the Jews. Everybody's pointing to Israel. Everybody's pointing to everything other than the most obvious point of concern, which is Russia and China. They knew what was going to be coming down the pipe, which is what you are currently seeing with Venezuela getting cut out, with Iran getting cut out, with China being put in check, and with Putin being put in check, trying to bring him back to the table. You look at that operation and you look at the explosives that were brought. You notice how we haven't heard really anything about that shooter from Pennsylvania?
Right.
Don't really have a lot of information on him, do we? Right. Did we discuss where he got those explosives from, how he made them? Did we discuss why he had, anal charge, ammonium nitrate with aluminum powder with radio configuration set up to it so that he can push button that sucker to blow up from a great distance away? Did we discuss who taught him to do that, where he actually put those charges together, where he did the test shots for those at? Did he actually have, not that you need a lab to put that particular charge together, but why the guy on the bicycle had a backpack with it, and then the same explosives were found on the guy and the backpack's missing from the guy? So there's all sorts of different connections that to me point to a foreign intelligence service that actually helped to plan that out, and it just ends up getting buried. Absolutely buried. He happens to go to the one blind spot. He happened to this random guy, no tactical training, no nothing. He happened to go to the one blind spot that was left open and approaching this one blind spot with these explosive charges and everything else going on it. That's a whole lot of information to try to choke down. If you don't think that he was responsible and you didn't have foreign influence there, you're just an idiot. To not actually look through and see that. Same thing with the guy down inside of Florida. So yeah, I got a great fear on his life. I think Trump is in great danger. Absolutely.
Well, he seems to think so because he keeps talking about, there's a lot of people coming after me. He said that last week.
Yeah, they're recruiting them online. What they're doing is, and this is how it works, right? You put out this disinformation online. United States of America kills 165 girls over inside of Iran. And you build that narrative. And then you put that information out, and then you look for people that make comments and different posts and stuff all across the internet that are here in the United States of America. And you see which ones are the most angry. You see which ones are threatening violence, and you take them and you send them a message privately on that social media platform. You pull them into a Telegram group that shows even more radical Islamic crap. See if they'll agree with it, or pro-Russia, anti-America, whatever it may be. And you show them more of that stuff and see how they respond. And then you hit them up and you ask them whether or not they'd be willing to do stuff that people that'd be willing to do things like that are working there. They don't even know that they're in contact with a foreign intelligence service. They think they're not talking to another ticked off American that wants to do something, and they rally them up. And that's how that ends up happening. That guy that took the shots on Trump down or attempted the shots on Trump down in Mar-a-Lago, he was originally over in Kiev. For a while. He wanted to join the Ukrainian military. And it's probably there that he ended up getting contacted by the FSB. He ends up coming back to the United States. He pretended he thought he was recruiting for the Ukrainian military. This is why I say you want the obvious that he was recruited by the FSB and he thought he was working for Ukraine, because he was posting online openly that he was recruiting for the Ukrainian military from these different international countries. And then in an open source site, he was posting all of the information of people from all of these different countries that wanted to travel to Ukraine and join the military. Now, what do you think Russia was doing with that information? This is what I'm talking about, right? And people are not looking deep enough, but instead they try to point the finger and go, but, oh, look at that. He's from Ukraine. Who do you think's pushing that false narrative? Russia. Russia is pushing that false narrative. And the same way they recruit that guy and convinced him that he's working for the Ukrainian government is the same way that they're going to be recruiting Americans, trying to convince them that they're working for Antifa or some leftist organization or Code Pink or whoever it may be to go and try to put a bullet in the guy. Yeah, he's got a lot of cause for concern, because at that point you have an unlimited recruiting pool that they're using.
Here is President Trump talking about this. Here we go.
I don't know how long I'll be around.
Let me start that over, boost the volume. Here we go.
I don't know how long I'll be around. Got a lot of people gunning for me, don't I? Huh? But I will not forget them. I'm never going to forget them. I don't know how.
Yeah, he's mentioned this multiple times, so obviously he's getting security briefings on this as well. Well, we're living in very dangerous times, and we need to be sober-minded, no doubt about it. And we need to understand a lot of this disinformation, misinformation, enemies, foreign and domestic, the false narratives. And of course, I'm very concerned, and it sounds like you are as well. How many of these people have penetrated into our FBI, into our CIA, into the Secret Service? That's very concerning to me. Right?
We'll go look back and see how many people Kash Patel fired back in the day. Was it March, April last year? Go take a look. It is very concerning. And it's not even, this is the most concerning part, I think, is it's not, the foreign governments that have penetrated our FBI. It's the foreign governments that have recruited agents of people unwittingly. Those people have no idea that they are acting as foreign agents for Russia, China, Iran, whoever. They think that they're spilling information to Code Pink. They think they're spilling information to Antifa. They think they're blocking information. No, and what's actually happening is they've been duped. And they're just using Signal. They're using WhatsApp. They're using Telegram. They're using all sorts of places to do this. And they've been duped.
So they think they're just being community organizers, right? I'm just involved in being community organizer, political, whatever. But they're actually, unbeknownst to them, talking to foreign enemies.
Bingo.
Well, again, guys, this is why you should follow his show. He brings his expertise as a former Special Forces guy to the table on his own broadcast, and you'll find him right here at Anger Tab. At Anger Tab. He's on YouTube, Speak the Truth. Go to at Anger Tab. You'll find it all. Thanks for being with us. Thank you for your service. Thank you for the information that you're putting out and the analysis, and for being so generous with your time tonight.
No, I appreciate you having me on, so thank you again.
Look forward to having you
appreciate
back.
that.
Yeah, you bet. Absolutely. Same. Look forward to having you back. Matt Tardio, folks, again, at Anger Tab. At Anger Tab. We'll be right back. Studies have shown America's water supply is not safe. It is filled with toxins and chemicals. Go look it up. This is fact. Fact check me. And then I'll offer you this solution. Worldviewwater.net. Take a look at this list. This water purifier removes all kinds of harmful toxins like lead, fluoride, chlorine, arsenic, pesticides, bacteria, and pharmaceuticals, and more. This is the water I give to my 3 dogs. I drink it every day. I have one of the filters in my kitchen, under the kitchen sink, and then I have one on my shower. Do you know how much your skin absorbs of water when you're in the shower each and every day? Protect yourself and your body. Remain healthy. Eat good food. Drink purified, clean water. One of the most powerful water filters available in America. Worldviewwater.net. That's worldviewwater.net. Again, tell your family and friends about it. In fact, maybe even give this as a gift to some of your family and friends, particularly those of you who have children and grandchildren. Worldviewwater.net. Joining me now is Patrick Wood of Technocracy.news. Technocracy.news. Well, just when you thought it couldn't get any weirder out there, folks, here comes a headline. Human brain cells merge with silica to play Doom. Well, if you're like me, most of you have no idea what Doom is, but apparently it's a video game. And I don't know. I'm going to play a video for you that's kind of interesting, that's for sure. But here's the article. In a development that sounds like Black Mirror script, Australian biotech from Cortical Labs has taught clusters of human brain cells grown in a lab to interact with the iconic video game Doom. The roots in earlier work that had these mini brains mastering Pong. You guys remember that from the 70s, Pong? I remember playing that. The leap to Doom signals rapid progress in biological computing. Critics worry this tech, backed by agendas that prioritize efficiency over ethics, might pave the way for dystopian nightmare scenarios where values of self-reliance and human dignity fall by the wayside. Patrick, welcome back to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
You bet. This is stranger than fiction, isn't it?
Are we headed to where they create these, quote, brains in a lab and then put them into a robot, and now all of a sudden, who needs family or friends? You have the exact robot you've programmed.
Yes.
It's the perfect wife, I guess they could create, right? Or the perfect husband or the perfect boyfriend or girlfriend, and put the brain in there with everything pre-programmed you want. I mean, that's all I could think about. I think about if you're going to do that, why not go to the next step and add it to some kind of cyborg? Is that where they're going?
You know, I don't know if this is in view right now, but, you know, these are a bunch of crazy scientists experimenting, and they've merged brain cells into a circuit board. And they keep the brain cells alive with nutrients. You'll see the fluid floating around on this chip that they're going to show in this movie. And so they've advanced it to the point now where they can train these brain cells somehow with picking up signals from the circuit board to play this game Doom. And they admit in here, well, it's like it's never seen a computer before, so all of a sudden it's playing, you know, it's using the gun, the pistol to shoot the zombies or whatever it is that's trying to shoot, and it's figured out how to do that. What's interesting to me in particular, why not pick another game that's not killing humans, for instance, or zombies? But at this is what they've focused on, playing this game Doom, and so you know what if it could go somewhere, I suppose. But their idea at this point is to create a computer that will literally mimic the function of a human brain. That would be their end goal.
Mimic the functions of a human brain. All right, well, you guys got to see this. Here it is. Watch this.
This is the Cortical Labs CL1. Inside this box, there are around 200,000 living human neurons on a microchip called a multi-electrode array. My name is Dr. Alon Loeffler, and today I'll be taking you through our journey at Cortical Labs to get living human brain cells to play Doom. Since launching the CL1 last year, we've been working hard behind the scenes to make sure our Cortical Labs API is as friendly, effective, and enjoyable for the user as possible. Today, we're excited to show you how, together with one of our collaborators, an independent researcher named Sean, we coded the first working version of Doom using the Cortical Labs API and running on a CL1.
So we showed that biological neurons could play the game Pong. This was a massive milestone because it demonstrated adaptive, real-time, goal-directed learning. But it took us over 18 months with our original hardware and software to get this to work. And Pong was much simpler. There was a direct relationship. The ball went up, the paddle went up. It was a direct input-output relationship. Doom was much more complex. Doom is chaos. It's 3D, it has enemies, it needs to explore its environment, and it's hard. So we've built a neurocomputing system to allow anyone to program this game.
To bridge that gap, we needed to translate the digital world of Doom into the biological language of neurons, which is electricity.
We built the CL API so that any user can interact with cells living in the CL1 with simple Python commands. Using the API, Sean managed to map the video feed from the game into patterns of electrical stimulation. When a demon appears on the left of the screen, specific electrodes stimulate the sensory area of the neural culture on the left side. The neurons react to that stimulation. We then listen to their response, the spikes, and interpret that activity as motor commands. If the neurons fire in a specific pattern, the Doom guy shoots. If they fire in another pattern, he moves right, and so on. Once our API was ready, Sean implemented this method with very minor tweaking in less than a week using the Cortical Labs cloud platform.
So, can the cells learn to play Doom? Yes. They're receiving information, they're sending commands to move their character around, they're able to find enemies, shoot. Is it an esports champion? Absolutely not. Right now, the cells play a lot like a beginner who's never seen a computer. And in all fairness, they haven't. But they show evidence that they can seek out enemies, they can shoot, they can spin, and while they die a lot, they are learning. But just like a human or an animal learning a task, the cells need feedback. They need to know what the right actions are and what the wrong actions are, and how they can be trained to improve. While there's still a lot of work left to do on this, the exciting thing is we've solved the interface problem. We have a way to interact with these cells in real time and train them and shape their behavior to do things even like Doom. So the interface is solved. Next, we need better learning, better encoding, better rewards, better feedback. And we can do this with the CL1.
Wow. So do they go on in the video to say what their ultimate goal is? Is this going to be to put a brain chip in someone using this technology that's a paraplegic and now they're going to walk, or what?
No, not at all. And they haven't declared. But this is a transhuman endeavor for sure, and it's a technocratic endeavor as well. And when technocrats get the idea that they can investigate something in the human body or just in nature, they want to do it. So you can't stop them at this point. They're totally bent on uncovering whatever they're going to uncover. Maybe this will go nowhere. Maybe the little box that has the brain cells in it, maybe it'll be in 5 years the new chess champion on the world. I can't think that's possible, but who knows at this point? These people are just really unplugged.
Well, again, if you were telling me, hey, we're trying to do this to make paraplegic walk or something, I could say, but no one's talking like that, huh? No one's saying.
They're not. All those boxes you saw on the racks, those were individual computers. They're exposing these computers now to the public through an API. API means application programming interface. So people can create applications like this guy that did Doom. You can create an application through using the API to interface with their computers. They have the computers in their own labs. You don't have one on your shelf, if you will, in your house or your office or whatever. So they're being very, very tightly monitored, put it that way. So, the programmer that did this was, who knows, he could have been in New York City in an apartment somewhere with a computer connected to the internet. But he got a hold of the API and he trained the cell culture, whatever, to play Doom. There you go.
There you go. Here's a article. See what it says here. I'll try to bring it back up. Here we go. Guest blows Joe Rogan away with terrifying transhumanism warning. Biotech engineer Ben Lamb painted a bone-chilling picture of where humanity could be headed on his episode of the Joe Rogan Experience. Gene editing was at the heart of the conversation, and according to Lamb, China isn't just experiencing with it, they already created genetically modified children.
Mm-hmm.
He pointed to a now infamous case in 2018 when Chinese scientists, he announced that he had cloned human embryos and edited their genes using a CRISPR to make them resistant to HIV. So they're doing designer babies now. He went on to point out that as a key player in this effort, he claimed that during this COVID-19 pandemic, BGI offered free testing to countries around the world, not just out of goodwill, but to harvest DNA at scale. They're like, well, we'll do all the COVID testing for you for free. Just send us your data. BGI has drawn global scrutiny. A 2021 Reuters investigation revealed that the company's prenatal tests taken by millions of women globally were being used to collect genetic data for the Chinese military without proper consent or oversight. How does this fit in with this conversation, Patrick?
Well, it probably does, and just in the general sense that you're dealing with transhumanists, and this is part of their thing, I guess. The quest to collect data on DNA has been documented very heavily in the last few years, and everybody's doing it at this point. The United States, certainly, and China especially. And China has the most advanced applications of using DNA to modify human genomics, and nothing is illegal there. There's no moral constraint. There's no authoritarian, prohibition. So they can do anything they want, basically. A lot of the technology that we've had in our country has been shipped overseas. In fact, COVID was one example of that, where the labs in our country were prohibited from doing gain of function research on viruses. So they shipped it to China, and China has no prohibition at all. They were glad to have the opportunity to do it, and we gave them money to do it as well. They like that part too. So, this business of we're in a race with China. That's not exactly how it works. China has been is become our test bed, if you will, for all these crazy technologies, and they're glad to do it for us.
Listen to what Joe Rogan said. Here we go.
It is getting weird. Like CRISPR and these genome engineering tools are outside of the bottle. They're out. It's like the genie out of the bottle, right? It's like it's out there. You can't put it back in. I think that more and more people in other countries are going to be doing things with these technologies for humans. That's why Colossal just said, we will never do anything for humans. If someone else wants to use our technologies for humans, we'll evaluate it.
But that gets so weird, right? Like the China story. Like, can you explain to people what they did? They said they were inoculating them from HIV, which is...
Yeah. They actually were engineering.
Suspect.
They were engineering babies in editing their embryos to confer a resistance to HIV. Now, still to this day, so they were cloning them, and then they were genetically modifying them. And so they're doing lots of things there's a general moratorium in the world on some of these things around humans. Anything that's considered a germline edit, so anything that could be passed on to the next generation, right? So if you engineer something into the genome, the fear is, from a germline. So all your cells in your body are somatic cells, except for your like egg or sperm. Those are germ cells. So anything that could be affected into the germline, so that you pass it on to the next generation, that could be like, umbrella corporation type moment, right? So we don't want that.
Well, the scary thing was they didn't just do that. They also edited something that would allow the child to have much higher intelligence.
Well, so that part's like that part's quoted under debate. There's people that say that happened. There's people that say it doesn't happen. If you look at BGI, or Beijing Genomics Institute, right? They did this thing that, from a nefarious perspective, was brilliant. From a nefarious perspective, is also terrifying. During COVID, they're like, we'll do all the COVID testing for you for free. We'll do all this COVID testing for you for free. No worries. Just send us your data. We'll do it all for free. You just want to help the world, right? We'll work with the World Health Organization. Just send us all your samples from all your countries, everything. And publicly, the CEO of BGI has said, which is funded by the CCP, has said that they are looking at genes with humans. They are looking at what makes humans more intelligent. They don't shy away from this. This is not like some, conspiracy, like they're like, is it a Sasquatch or is it just a man in an ape suit? This is something that is very real. They are openly saying, we are sequencing as much as we can of the world population, looking for genes for intelligence, and we will act on that. Like that's not a hidden thing. So that is the problem.
But they supposedly did with these children. How old are these kids now?
I mean, that would have. When did that happen? It was
2019.
Yeah, so they've been like 6 or 7.
Oh, and are they already winning chess championships?
Yeah, so we should
find out.
Yeah,
we should find out where these kids are probably in a lab somewhere with a headset on.
Yeah,
teaching them how to be psychic.
Wow, they are really. I mean, the verse that comes to mind is, as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be before the return of the Son of Man. And we know that if you go to Genesis chapter 6, there was something going on. I don't fully understand it. There was something going on where the DNA of man was being fooled with. Looks like you're going in and out of focus there.
I know, it's weird. See if I can fix it here.
But the DNA of man was being fooled around with the Nephilim, some kind of human demonic off-breed or whatever. And of course, that's one reason why I think the flood happened. If you read Genesis 6, but Satan was trying to pollute the human line from which Messiah was going to come. But the Bible says it wasn't as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be before the return of the Lord. It looks like mankind is doing that, fooling around again at the DNA level. Would you agree with that?
I would. Well, to a point, for sure. Has there been an age-old understanding of what makes humans tick? You have that sense in Genesis that at least the demons who were participating, they understood that there was a connection between genetic material and the offspring. Now, there's no other supporting evidence of that, by the way. However, the thought that humans inherited traits specifically on genome or genetic material, that's a relatively new discovery. This wasn't, I think they started to think very seriously about it, say 1850 or so. So at this point, the advanced CRISPR stuff like that, where they actually they're able to edit a gene specifically. This is really advanced stuff, and this has never been seen in history. So, is there a connection? Well, maybe there is, but you can't go back to Genesis 6 and say, well, did they have some capability of or understanding to edit genes at that point? I don't know.
Well, this is going to be very interesting to follow. Let me go back to technocracy.news, technocracy.news. Let's see, what else you got over there at technocracy.news? So you've got human brain cells merge with that. We got that. Oh, yeah, here we go. Full-out digitized technocratic rule is not around the corner. It is next door. Tell me about this article before we let you go.
Well, this article was written by a guy by the name of Gary Barnett, and he basically is detailing the story of technocracy. And he doesn't cite me. He may have read my work. I don't know. Don't have a clue. I don't know him personally. But he's citing technocracy as being on the table right now, and based on the context that it started in 1932. So I'm always glad to see somebody picking up the trail that I've left for them. And this is one example. This is a good article, I think. I might disagree with a couple of things, but very minor stuff. But he's picked up the trail, and he's telling it like it is. Basically, it's around the corner. Is the conclusion. It's not just in the far distant future. It's around the corner.
Technocracy.news. If you want to follow more, technocracy.news. As always, Patrick, we appreciate all your hard work and research. And of course, you can watch Technocracy News on Tuesday and Thursday nights with Patrick Wood and Logan Howse at 6 p.m. Central, 7 Eastern, I think.
That's right.
All right, good. Thank you, Patrick.
You bet.
All right, guys, don't forget about our National Worldview Weekend coming up. We've got already 200 of the tickets are gone. They are free, but you must register. You can get your ticket at worldviewtube.com/events, worldviewtube.com/events. Again, we've got Patrick Wood, Sharam Hadian, Alex Newman, Annie Cyrus, myself, Andy Woods, a few more we're going to be inviting and confirming. It's the first time we've ever done our National Worldview Weekend in Milwaukee, Waukesha to be precise. And it's the first time we've ever made it free, brought to you in part by our foundation to do a free Christian Worldview National Conference. Get your tickets now, free. You have to have a ticket to get in because last year we were there for just one night, a one-night event, and we filled it up. So we're going to do that, we know, for a Friday night, Saturday event, worldviewtube.com/events. Also, don't forget about our app, worldviewtube.com/apps. If you don't have the app, you can get it for your iPhone and your Android. Be sure to select notifications. I guess about 700 of you did that a couple weekends ago, because then you will be notified when we go live. If there's breaking news and we go live, you will be notified that, well, hey, they just went live. Because some of you will say, I wish I'd known you guys were live. I would have watched. Now I got to watch the replay. I wanted to see it live. Well, you don't have to worry about that if you have the app and you choose to receive the notifications. If you already have the app, go back into your iPhone or Android and choose notifications, and be sure that you choose that so you can, again, be alerted when we go live outside of our normal broadcasting schedule for breaking news, okay? All right, roll the music. Let's call it a night. As always, we appreciate your support. Thank you to all of you that are supporting us. If you're not, would you please consider doing so? Worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. You'll also find our phone number there if you prefer to support us through the mail, worldviewfoundation.com. Help us continue to make available free Christian worldview programming literally around the world. Till next time, I'm Brannon Howse. May God save America. Take care.
Values, moral issues, government, economy,